All right, guys, let's go ahead and get busy. I want to just go ahead and drop a quick video right quick. Today in the Discord, yesterday, I think, or it was either today. No, today, I called out Lilly. And I've called out Lilly in the past, maybe last week, to do a full top-down analysis on them when they were, right around 920. And we can see that Lilly has had an inverse arc, which is when the WTMA, which is this lime green line right here, when it crosses over this red line sitting here, if you can follow this mouse. So when this lime green line crosses over this red line, that creates a bullish reversal signal on the wolf chart, and it's pushing up. And so I called that signal out last week to prepare your trade plans for Lilly. But today, I just want to cover when you see me do a call out and I say add a ticker, or when I said add Lilly to trade plan watch. I didn't say build a trade plan for Lilly. I told you to put Lilly on trade watch, which is more of a day trade signal. That's my language for like prepare for a day trade, especially when you hear me say the trigger time frame is a specific time frame. So if we go into the Discord, let me try to find that call out. When I call out a trigger time frame, I'm normally talking about a a day trade when we do a trigger time frame, and it's like on the minutes, like the 30-minute or the 15-minute or the 5 minute. It's more than likely going to be a um a day trade, right? So here's the call out right here. Let's click on it. So I put everyone. Now that's the manager of Lilly. Let's go. So here it is right here. Let's go back to this one. All right, at everyone, I said add Lilly to trade watch. The trigger time frame is the 30-minute extended. So this is me saying that it's on the 30-minute time frame in extended trading hours. All right. You need a close above 948.75. So that's the trigger. So you need a counter close above that. One thing I like about the Wolf Empire, we're always going to ask questions. Everybody in here is pretty sharp. And so you see Anthony ask, what do you see at that level? And I was telling him it's a potential breaker structure at that level. But anyway, so let's get into what I saw so that you can train your eye to see the same thing. So right now we can see that Lilly was pulling back, but I have my wolf supply zone here. And, these other red zones are our order blocks. So I had this supply zone sitting here at the tip and the wick of this candle. This was actually a supply zone that was formed doing pre-market. And so I was trading this in an extended hour because anytime you have a huge gap up in the chart, it's good to be inside of a extended trading hour so that you're not trying to trade on a chart. It just has a huge gaping gap in the chart. So if I switched over to regular trading hours, like you can't really see, so you see the well, this isn't the gap up day, but you can see how you don't have as much information, especially when you're doing a major gap up. So anyway, so we have this order block here. And so the reason why I called that level, so if you pay attention to the top of my chart up here where it says the O stands for open, H high, low, close. All right. So on TradingView, as you move your mouse and if you touch each candle, it tells you, the candle's volume and all types of stuff up here at the top up here. So I knew that this candle right here where the wick is at the high of this supply zone, it says that the high of that supply zone is 948.75. All right, so I realized that we need to close above this level. Now, the reason why I ended up on the 30-minute time frame is because if I go down to the 15-minute and we look for that same level, same price, 948.75, this supply zone is represented on the 15-minute. It's represented on the 30-minute as we just saw. And then if I go up above that to the 45-minute chart, that level is not on the 45-minute as resistance, right? So it's a 30-minute time frame breakout level. The next supply zone, and we may have order blocks sitting in here, but the next supply zone is all the way at 975. So that means that so we had this level right here, 958. And this level came into play quickly after it broke above, right? And so I'm gonna show you what happened here. So right here, when we seeing that this level is next at 959, I can see that this level right here has never been tested. That's called being unmitigated. So there's a high probability that price will push up, and then it's going to probably push a wick above this level and then do a buy side sweep. That means that price will pop above this level just for a little bit and then get snatched back down, right? So anyway, so let's go back to the 30-minute, the trigger time frame, because in that at that particular price range right here, this is my breakout signal when I'm reading the chart. So now if I play these candles in replay mode, and you see how this candle right here, now I'm gonna look at the close. I said the price needs to close over 948, which is the high of this candle, 948.75. You see how this candle right here, if I look at the close, which is the letter C up here, this candle closed at 949.59. That was the breakout signal. And so you see we got the close, and then the next candle after that pushed up, and then we began pushing toward this bearish order block. And now look at the price action. Now I also put in a signal. I said, hey, go ahead and start managing the trade, because 956 is a level where we'll start seeing, the price action uh taking some heat, right? It's gonna be taking some resistance because you're running into an order block, right? And so when we're doing these type of trades, you want to pay attention to where the target is. So if I say it's a breakout here at 948.75 with a close, and then you push from 948 all the way up to this 956 range, you have to start tightening your stop loss up, because you're going to get a reaction here at this order block. So if we play this on through, you will see that Lilly pushed up, and remember that buy side sweep that I just told you all about, when they will allow price to push up just a little bit above it, just to grab some liquidity. So people have their stop loss orders up here. And so it just pushes up enough to get above here, because they're ready to take profit on Lilly. So they need people willing to buy Lilly at a high price, at a premium. So they push it up like it's going to break out, extra aggressive. And then people will start FOMOing in, trying to buy the breakout. And then they sell out of the position. And you see it pull back, and look where it's coming right back to. It's coming right back to this green money right here. So we can see clear as day on the Wolf chart where the breakout needed to happen at, where they're going to take profit and sell it off at. And then we see now that if you were buying puts, say you reversed it back down, you got to get out of your puts up in this range, because you back down here with money, right? So you see how it pushed all the way down to 948, and because you're running into money, look what happened to the price action once you got down to that level. You push right into that order block, but look at the reaction. As soon as you popped into it, buyers came back in, but really you're triggering these buy orders, and you pop back out of that range, right? So I'm gonna give this order block some time to load again. But if you just pay attention to what your chart is telling you, if you ride the puts down for whatever, if you want to play the scalp on the puts, then once you get back down here to this green order block, you know that it's bull territory. So you have a range between 956 and 949 to get busy. And you can play this range, but you can see that when they push up here to this bearish order block and this bear territory, they're selling. When we come back down here where the bulls are and where this bullish order block is, they're pulling out. So I just wanted to cover that trade. We had a lot of people in the Discord benefited from that. If you're in the Discord, I make these call outs inside of the main chat. I make the call out inside of the My Trade Plan tab. As you can see, I traded some puts on SPY today. You got 76% on them. I also traded, I think it was SoFi. Let me see. Yeah, so this was this morning. So I had swung SoFi, ended up making 500% on them and sold them this morning, and then traded SPY puts. So the market did pretty good today. I don't want to cover any news or anything like that. We do have some data dropping first thing in the morning, so you want to be prepared for that news that's dropping in the morning. And so we have some inflation data. We have job data coming in. We have GDP, which tells us how the economy is growing. and things like that. So we have a lot of data coming out pre-market, and I put out in my first video on, I think on Sunday or Monday or whatever, that you want to expect some sell-off to happen on Wednesday. They can come up with whatever excuse they want, but pre-market, some data is going to come out that's going to actually move the market, move the market around. And you have the stuff with the war happening as well. But, we kind of planned ahead that, okay, Wednesday, they were going to try to trim a little bit of their positions. Even though we gapped up, they still tried to play it safe a little bit. Now, what I am interested in is that I noticed that on the charts, semiconductor ETFs are extremely strong. So let me get out of replay mode. Let's go look at SMH. Kind of look at this their chart. So unlike a lot of the other ETFs, man, they seem to be pretty strong. SMH looks like it's like near all-time highs again. And when you put that kind of in perspective, it's kind of weird, right? Because they on a wolf chart, we broke down and we lost. We had a bearish arc. This was back in March, early March, right? And they dropped down and they came right back to the same buy zone that was already on our chart since December the 22nd, 2025. They came right back down to this key level right here. This is a wolf chart, this orange level. They came right down to it and they popped back out of this buy zone, right? So we could see where they were going. But if you really put this in perspective, this is really kind of crazy when you think about the fact that SMH is at all-time highs, looking like they're about to get a bullish arc again and press and put a higher high in. And then when you take in perspective of that, or take in consideration that SPY is nowhere near, well, they're pushing back up, but they're nowhere near as bullish as the semiconductor. So they're kind of carrying, the market in a sense, because QQQ is, trying to recover a little bit. It's still above the 200 on the 3-day. Let's look at the daily. They're trying to recover, right? But they got a lot of work to do. They just now got back over the 200. But again, when we look at SMH, they look extremely good. We can see on the daily time frame that the signal, their trigger is going to be this 1-day chart, because we didn't see the supply zone on the 3-day. It was wide open on 3-day. So now we have another trigger time frame example. So now if I go to this candle that's occupying this supply zone, if I put my mouse on top of this candle, the high of that candle is 427.94. So we just want to see a daily candle close above 427.94. And that opens the door to all these other chip stocks to be extremely bullish. I looked at NVDA, AMD looks good. And what you want to do when you look at these ETFs like this, like SMH, you can bring your mouse over to where it says the semiconductor ETF, click on it, and so you can find some important information about it. But more importantly, you can go inside of holdings, and it'll show you pretty much what the leaders are, what are the biggest tickers inside of it. If they only have 26 holdings in here. And so when you look at it, you got NVIDIA, TSM, AVGO, AMD, ASML, you got CLAC, ADI, LRCX, TXN. You got all these stocks in here, and Intel and MU. And so if you can see how this thing, like, it's trying to break and make new highs, then you want to start really doing your trade plans on NVIDIA, doing your trade plans on AMD and AVGO. You want to take these trade plans serious. Now, I really like AMD's chart right now. I like AVGO's chart as well, because they look like on there. Let's look at their weekly chart right quick. So when you start seeing, these kind of trying to lock in this WTMA crossover, but more importantly, the bullish thing that I see on their chart is their VRVP, which is this volume sitting over here off to the side. Once they get above, and they start holding above like 350 and stuff like that, breaking above here and retesting it, look how you thin out. So what does that mean? That means that the same way when you had price action down here, where these nodes were sticking out, and then you had these volume nodes were kind of disappearing and getting really weak and shallow up in here, look how price action is running up through those little weak areas. And if I draw a box and you look at how price action reacts when you're inside of all this volume, right? So when you're inside of that volume where the volume nodes are sticking out, you see how you're kind of in a consolidating, type of phase. Price action is kind of sticky and gummy up in here. But once you get above these nodes, these called volume nodes, and it thins out like this, you see how price, these big green candles start coming in. So you're kind of in that same predicament here. Now, it's not gonna be a smooth push up because of how our structure is. This is called a WTMA cloud. It represents a type of resistance that we'll be facing trying to break out. It'll be truly bullish once it breaks above like 382, and they'll try to push into 400 again. But even with the current structure, it's in position to push up and mount this and at least try to touch inside of this fair value gap area. And so you want to keep AVGO and build a trade plan for them. And then AMD, their chart looks really good. They're trying to push up into these liquidity levels around 235, 239. They're going to run into some, they're going to probably sweep here and try to ping pong around a little bit. But same thing, that VRVP is kind of, they're in like this little vacuum right here. And that's why this candle was able to push up so aggressive. So if I targeted just this empty area right here, we look at this price action for that empty area, you'll see how price will be able to move. Like once it taps into these empty voids inside the volume profile, you get that very fast price action. So if you look at it like on the lower time frames and you can kind of zoom into it and look, you see how, we kind of pushed into here. And once we got inside that empty void, and it's showing up on the 2-hour chart as well. And you see how now the volume is sticking out right here. We pushed right. That's why the price action pushed up there and just stopped on a dime in that range. But right here where it was wide open, it pushed up really aggressive and fast with speed. And so AMD looks really good. They look like they can really break out aggressively. So you want to keep the semiconductor stocks on your watch list. You want to build trade plans for them. You want to go to SMH, drill down into the holdings, and get your trade plans and your plan together for some of those stocks in there because the ETF is looking bullish. So that means that the semiconductor sector and them as a whole, it's a lot of money flowing into them as a group. So that's what you want to see when you're looking for where you're going to put your capital to work. So with that, I'm gonna let you guys go, give you your time back. If you have any questions for me in the Discord, reach out. I noticed on one of my video analytics that I have at least probably about 40% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. Just please do me a favor and like and subscribe to this channel if you want to keep getting videos like this. Add a comment down there to help the algorithm for more people can find the Wolf Empire and find and help me out. Find me so that I'm teaching these things and showing these technicals. So just keep looking out for me. I'm gonna keep giving out good technicals and good trades. All right, peace.